Welcome, everybody. We are less than a month away from the third annual Garden State Baseball Coaches Clinic. Best lineup ever, and we're going to be promoting it over the next few weeks. It's Mike Olshan, Jersey Baseball Nation. We're joined today by Mike Rooney, ESPN, the voice of college baseball, Dr. Barry Davis, head coach at Rider University off of their outstanding 2023 season. We are sponsored, as always, by Team Toyota of Princeton, Team Toyota of Langhorne, two locations close to Coach Davis, in fact. And we appreciate them making all this possible. Gentlemen, we're a few weeks away, December 7th, December 8th at the Hyatt Regency in New Brunswick. You see on the bottom of the screen, we can sign up for that coaches clinic at www.gamersba.com. We'll start with Mike Rooney, the voice of college baseball, ESPN. Sort of Jersey background, grew up in Delco, Delaware County. It's sort of its own little area to itself, but a Jersey Shore lifer. Certainly plenty of experiences as a high school coach, coaching against teams from Jersey. Friends obviously at the schools in the area. Welcome home, kind of, and tell us about your excitement for this event.
Yeah, as a Delco product, I'm consider myself a Jersey knockoff, right? I'm not like authentic Jersey, but I'm like, you can get me at Kmart, right? So
yeah, all three of us have PA kind of vibes right now, whether it's address or growing up. So we'll skip that. We'll say we got the Jersey background here.
Yeah, that's right. But I will say that it's what's that old expression? And I'll fill in the Philadelphia area. It's like you can take the kid out of the Philadelphia area, but you can't take the Philadelphia area out of the kid, right? And so it's selfishly to get to be part of this. I was just super thrilled when I talked to Chris Roof. Just first of all, I'll get to see my family. I live in Arizona, obviously, and my brother and sister-in-law and my two nieces live in Madison, New Jersey, so I'll see them. My parents still live outside the Philadelphia area, so I'm even trying to get my dad to come to the clinic because he's a junkie. He'll love it. And so there's that part of it, which will be super fun. As you mentioned, Olsh, I cut my teeth as a high school coach in the Philadelphia area. I remember taking teams to the Bishop Eustace tournament and getting our teeth kicked in by Eustace. Those guys were so good back then, still are, I'm sure. And we got to play Millville one year. That was not Mike Trout's Millville, but I just remember thinking, I remember hearing where Trout was from later in life, and you're like, dang, we played those guys. And so, and I think the other part is a big part of my role now in college baseball is I think about that squeeze play thing, the red zone that we get to do. And, Barry's team were so compelling this year. John Yurkow's team at Penn, that's a bunch of Jersey kids. I think about Kyle Teal. We talked about Penn's pitcher, Drombo, right? Ryan Dromboski, how, like he was the belle of the ball at the Auburn regional. And, I think about, NJIT is personal for me because I coached Robbie McClellan and recruited him out at Arizona State. And who would have thought this country kid from Southwest Kansas would end up the head coach at NJIT, and they go to the Fayetteville regional. And I think I'll wrap it up with this. Like, I think about the kids from Jersey, the kids from that part of the country, they have such big personalities, right? Like there's so much to them, and it's so fun. And when these teams go to the NCAA tournament, the rest of the country gets to see that. And, of course, I can't play favorites in my role, but I am really proud when I see that, and I don't try to tuck in that pride either. I lean into it. So yeah, just overall really thrilled to be attending this event and speaking at it.
Well, you mentioned Coach McClellan from Kansas. Barry, another New Jersey lifer now, sort of by trade. Obviously, I'm guessing growing up as a young player in Virginia, you were probably not expecting to spend most of your adult life in New Jersey, but this is year 35 as a head coach, and with the exception of 4 at Georgia Southwestern, right. The start out at Gloucester, top JUCO coach in the country, top JUCO program in the country, 4 national titles at the D3 JUCO level, and then coming back in 2005. So this is season 20 at Ryder, right? I believe.
Right.
What's it mean to you to be a part of this, a clinic like this in a state that's really kind of become your professional home?
Well, first, I when I was growing up, I didn't think I would ever spend a day in the state of New Jersey, much less 31 years.
31 seasons now, yeah.
31 years. I mean, people always ask me, where are you from? Because my accent is still have a southern, 20.
No, it's not New Jersey. Yeah, that's right.
But I mean, there's a distinct difference between the way I talk and a guy from Hoboken, so no, I would have never, but it's been probably the best thing. What's the best thing that ever happened to me? Probably the lesson there is to just follow your dreams, go where you need to go, don't worry about where it's at, just go do it. And I did it. And fortunately I had enough people around me and people that supported me and through the years to be able to put myself in a position to 3+ decades later to be, asked to go to clinics, asked to speak at things such as this. So it's exciting for me to be able to go to this particular clinic in a state that I've become, well accustomed to. The people, early on in my career was mostly South Jersey. Now it's, pretty much like north to top to bottom, from Bergen County to Cape May County. I know a lot of people. There's a lot of great baseball people. I didn't really realize how good New Jersey was until I got here. Coming from, I was a grad student at finishing up my graduate school at Frostburg State in Maryland, and I got to New Jersey, and it just it blew me away with the people that knew baseball, the people that coached at baseball, and the level of talent. American Legion was big, obviously, when I got here in the late, the early '90s and throughout the '90s. But it's an honor. I'm humbled to be there. It'll be great to see a lot of familiar faces, and hopefully I can give them something that they can take home.
Win number 1,000, part of the season last year, the special season, winningest in school history. 1,026 now on the ledger. What would one thing that Barry Davis with 1,000+ career wins would tell Barry Davis first year of head coach, like 35 years ago? What to the one thing now that you didn't then, what would it be?
There's a lot to take from 35 years, and I often reflect and jot things down for me to remind myself. I would say that it's been an evolution. It's almost like another life. Every decade has been like another lifetime. Like, I can't imagine the things I did when I was 25, 26, 27 that I would never do them now. I would preach, obviously, patience. I would preach the sense of urgency is should never leave you. There's just a way of talking, listening, communicating better. I think those are the things I wasn't very good at. Not that I'm great at it now. We're always working to get better. But that, as a young person, my goal was to be competitive and to win. And it wasn't win at all costs, but one of the things I would say, I've heard it several times, is like I didn't treat the players as people. I treated them like he's a second baseman, he's an outfielder, whatever. I coached the baseball team. I didn't coach baseball players. I mean, people that play baseball. I was coaching baseball. I wasn't coaching people. But I will say this: I've interviewed some people, some great coaches, and you know what? They have a lot of the same type of answers, because I think when you get into it, you're so focused on winning and being great. Here's your opportunity, because most great coaches, and I would say, I wouldn't put me in a great term. I when I study great coaches, don't put me in there. But great coaches, when you study them, you find that when they're younger, they had that fire, but over time they start to understand their role in education, their role in coaching, and what they can do to help people along and serve. It's more authoritative at the beginning and a lot more serving now. But that's would probably be the evolution. But if I were to tell myself that when I was young, I don't know if I'd listen. See, at 25, 26, I knew it all, but I didn't know anything, which is the great thing about it now. You feel like, I got a little bit more of a grasp on it, and I'm working real hard still to be a better person and to be able to influence people the right way instead of doing things, strong arming people, I guess, and I mean, I'm not a big physical guy. So, I mean, I don't, I think one of my insecurities was because I was so young, I wanted to make sure they knew I was in charge. And the only way I knew how to do that was to be, you know, you know, kind of on the edge all the time. But it worked then. It probably wouldn't work now. But now that's the whole great thing about this whole coaching evolution is that you get a chance to grow as a person and as a professional. And that's why when I would talk to people, I think experience now is so important and to be able to be a successful coach. I feel like I would be I'm a lot calmer now. I can steady the ship a little bit. Whereas back in the day, I mean, the ship would be sinking and I would be knocking holes in the bottom of it, just thinking that's going to, and sometimes it worked. A lot of times it didn't, but you learn. And that's probably what I would say to myself is that, being patient, listening, delegating. And if I could answer this in 4 words, I would say, Mike, what do you think? And I don't think I did that enough when I was younger, but that's okay. I didn't have a whole lot of people around me. So I didn't,
Right.
I figured it out, trial and error.
Yeah.
But I think that would
And
that would be the theme. What do you think, Barry? What do you think?
yeah,
And then
in the
let
JUCO world.
let me hear what you have to say before I decide. And I think that's one of the things I've
Yep.
learned and I've tried to be good at.
I think that's such a great answer, especially in a forum like this, where it's, coaches clinic and it's the chance to evolve, and that ability to do so. You're not the same. If you're the same person in year 1 as you are in year 35, you're either the ultimate unicorn, or you're more likely you're probably doing it wrong. Runes, Mike, your experience, like what coach said, because you're in a position where you can see so many
Yeah.
great coaches on a national level. That answer resonated a lot with me. Does it to you too?
Oh, absolutely. I think I remember being a young coach and we got to play Augie Garrido's Texas team in a regional one year, and they absolutely stomped on our hearts. Like we were up 2-0 in the regional, and Texas, we were a national seed. We had an awesome team. This is the year 2000. We had won the Pac-10 at the time. We just had this team, it's one of those magical teams, right? Where the kids, the character of the team, they played above their talent level. And I know it's Arizona State. The kids are all really good players, but it was one of the teams where it was just magic, right? Like if you didn't show up, they'd practice anyway, like they were so tough. It was such a tough team. And Texas came back and beat us twice. And so, you're coaching against Augie and he's just such a presence in the other dugout. But I'll never forget hearing him talk. And he used to say to other coaches, he'd say, it's not personal. It's just the game. It's not personal. It's just the game. And I remember thinking, well, yeah, easy for you to say. You win a national title every decade, right? Like this is easy for you. You won one in 75 and 84 and 95. How about sharing? How about that, Augie? And so, but he was right? Like, and that's exactly what Barry's talking about. Is just like it's the game, and the game teaches us about life, and it helps us grow young men and young leaders and all those things. But I will say the other part of what Barry talked about, that urgency and that fire that, like, hey, when I was a young high school coach at Malvern Prep and I would go to the Eustis tournament and they would beat the brakes off of us. Yeah, I took that personally, and that helped, right? Because if there was a coach's clinic within 500 miles of Newtown Square, Pennsylvania, I was driving to it. And you better believe I was kidnapping my assistant coaches and putting them in the car with me. And so, I agree with exactly what Barry said, that urgency and that fire, you need it. Like every great coach has that, right? Like that's a non-negotiable for me. But then as we grow and mature and we're more collaborative and we're more open to ideas. And, I think about this clinic in particular, Ulsh, like, Bill Mosiello has been one of my baseball go-tos my entire baseball life since I've known him. I met him in 2001. We get to be on the same staff together, and he is baseball Rain Man, right? He's a baseball savant. Like he sees the game so clearly that I don't know that I could ever get myself there, but he's always a phone call away. And for Mo to be at this representing Ohio State, his first chance to be a head coach at Division I, I think about Mike Gambino and what I got to do a bunch of Boston College games last year and what he did there with ALS and, building an on-campus facility. Talk about doing more with less, being at Boston College in the ACC. I mean, goodness gracious, you talk about, no offense, BC is a wonderful school, but you talk about resources. I mean, BC was at a machine gun fight with butter knives, right? Like, and they were doing it, right? Like game 3 of a super regional. And so I could go right down the line. Steve Trimper, when they're at Stetson, they, first ASUN team ever to host a regional, win a regional, they go to a super. So yeah, I think to put a bow on it, that urgency and that fire, that taking it personally is why you go to clinics like this, because you just want to be whatever I can be as a coach. I want to be all of that. And then, you get older and you mature and it all comes together and it's this beautiful collision.
Yeah, it's going to be a great 2 days. Chris Roof, Governor Livingston, one of the noted high school coaches in New Jersey, is always an amazing job putting this together. Barry Ryder, 2021-2023 MAC champs, your 3rd and 4th conference titles at Ryder. Won a couple of in your first few years. There was a little lull in between. One of the things on those 2 teams, and last year's team was the first New Jersey team to win an opening night NCAA game since 2011, with be a separate show to talk about that win over Coastal. We'd have to push our time limits a little bit longer today. But one of the kind of common factors on the 21 and 23 team and even the 22 team, which, made the MAC finals with probably the smallest roster in D1 with you were saying earlier, 24 guys on the roster, was a culture, kind of that Jersey grit culture, that accountability, resiliency, winning the conference tournament 15 minutes after losing a heartbreaker to Fairfield in the conference final with with the All-American closer Danny Kerwin, who was amazing last year, but that lost that game going into the if game. Tell us about how this kind of Jersey grit, resilient, accountable culture developed at Ryder. Was it something that you really focused on recruiting those types of players? Was it something that, as you're evolving as a leader, worked that much harder to develop? And you had mentioned earlier coaching people instead of coaching baseball. Is that a byproduct?
Well, I think it all is. I was here in 05. We won 08. We won in 10. Those teams were good teams, especially the 10 team. The 11 team was better than the 10 team. We got beat in the tournament. 13 team finished first place and was, again, a 30-plus win team that had as much or better talent than the team I had this year. The 15 team might be, you can argue that was, we beat Virginia Tech twice that year. We lost to Duke by 1 run twice. We beat Kent State, who had been to the World Series. Nobody remembers those teams because we didn't win the tournament. Those were 13 and 15 were could have been NCAA type teams. So the culture's the expectations and standards have never changed. They've always been high. They've always been championship, MAC champion, conference champion. Get the NCAA regional. And you got to remember now, I took over for a coach that's in the Hall of Fame, who took over for a coach who's in the Hall of Fame. So you got Tom Petroff and Sonny Patera. So Ryder has been good for a long time. And that is one of my biggest gripes with certain people, not Mike, but people that follow, like, hey, Ryder, they've never been to the NCAA. Yeah, we have. We've been in the NCAA tournament 15 times. They went to the World Series in 1967.
And almost in 87.
Sonny Patera won. He was 1 game away from going to the World Series. When they had 6-team regionals.
In 87, yeah.
Right. So, and they had a 4th round draft pick in Kenny Kramer. He was, he was the highest draft pick since Margavich, who played for me, was a 7th round pick. But and he made it to the big leagues. So I mean, but Ryder, I've only had one guy in my entire career make it to the major leagues, and he was here at Ryder. Sonny had a dozen, not a dozen, but he had several, and Petrov had a couple. So Ryder's been good. So when you come into that situation, you already have a tradition. Now you have to uphold it, or at least get it turned in the right direction. So we had, I would say 2018 to 2019, those were two very tough years for us. So, and we built this culture of excellence, work hard, ethic, play the game the right way, all those things, the same type of things everybody else does. Now, can you get them to do it, which, is sort of the challenge. It's easy to say, everything's easy to say. I mean, it's just tough to do. But then we refocused. We decided, or I decided with my staff, because again, what do you think? What do you think, coach? What do you think? What we got to do? Let's go out and we over recruited. We never really did that. We had to over recruit to get the core group of players that we had on the teams the last 3 or 4 years. And that was one, accumulate as much talent as possible, develop them. That was kind of the key, because if you go back and look at the roster in 2020, all of those kids that played this year that were on that 23 team, they were all freshman COVID year. And they all stuck together. You got to give them credit. I hired Mike Petrowski, who, Mike, Ocean, local guy, pitching coach, probably one of the smartest moves I made. Kept my other coach, Lee Lipinski. Those two guys were phenomenal. And then we stayed the course. And to answer your question, yes, I changed a little bit of my style. The leadership sort of became a little bit more of a delegate here. Let the pitch coach do his thing. Let me run, let me be the CEO, let me ask the questions, let me observe, let me make, obviously, when the tough decisions got to be made, we'll all make them together. But at the end of the day, the head coach certainly got to make the tough, the final call. But at the end of the day, it was, get the good players, get them pointed in the right direction, be consistent in what you do on a day-to-day basis. And if I thought we got out of line, then we got to get back online as quick as we can. And it was fun. It was more enjoyable. I tried to be more enjoyable. I don't know if I enjoyed it back in 1990 as much as I enjoyed it now, because I was like, you gotta, it's like push, what I mean, at the blink of an eye, if something went wrong, I mean, it was an incident. Now a little calmer, I think, but the expectations are still the same. Do you want to be a champion? Hey, that was not a championship practice. Why was it not a championship practice? Somebody tell me. And then you stand there, and then somebody would say something. I'll say, okay, well, tomorrow we're going to fix that. You got to fix it. We had a little incident this morning. Going to correct it this afternoon. So it's always the same. And I've just tried to be a little bit more self-aware of my emotions, and be able to regulate them. Be a little bit more of a mentor than I probably was, 20 years ago. But the culture, it's just, this is what the expectations are. You have to model it. You do it. The coach. If the coach is I always say level 10. I mean, a lot of people say level 5, when they talk about Jim Collins and the good to great. Okay, we'll just say level 5. If you're a level 5 leader, your team's got a chance to be level 4, level 3, 4, whatever. But if you're a level 3 leader or level 2 leader, you got no shot. So it all really comes down to you. You can't see, I have a shirt on that says, "You are the culture." Now, we live by that. You are the culture. So if you are great, if you do the things we expect you to do, you do. Now, do the player, and each one of us does that. There's no way we can't be better than what we are if you're not thinking in those terms. The culture is built by each individual. The coach lays the groundwork. The coach sets the expectations. The coach models the expectations. And if he does that, it's going to be a lot easier for those kids to fall in line. And it's not for everybody. This is every program's not for everybody. You can't just walk in here and think, okay, I'm just going to, you still got to have some talent. You still got to play. You still got to get committed. You got to do those things. So that's really what it is. So you are the culture kind of is one of the things that we sort of rally behind, and I use, it's kind of one of my lead talks, or my mission statement is that you're the culture.
Was it about last year's team that, as I said, in the MAC final on the championship Sunday, or was it Saturday? I don't remember. It was on the weekend. Lose such a heartbreaker in game one, and then, like I said, 20 minutes later, you're out there kicking the stuffing out of Fairfield in game two, which, is just the ability to turn the page is amazing. But then follow that up with, that Coastal Carolina game, which will live on forever, as far as one of the epic NCAA tournament games out there, where you're, getting no hit for 6 innings, and somehow, like, they go to the bullpen, and all of a sudden everything just kind of blows up instantly, and then you're back and forth the rest of the game. What was it about last year's team that enabled it to perform so well in those crazy moments?
Well, this team was mature, and we were mature offensively for sure. We got 10 runs several times during the year. I think, Michael, we talked about that at the podcast a couple weeks ago. They just never. Again, it's up to me and not to press the buttons and just get everybody all out of whack. It's up for me to just, all right, we'll be all right. Just, we got 10 run. What do you want me to do? I mean, it's like, we'll be all right. Don't worry about it. We'll be good. Just, we got to keep our focus. And we did that. The Fairfield game was very interesting. So when you lose a game like that, I started to think, all right, and what am I mean, because I'm devastated too, because we're one pitch away. I mean,
Yep.
that's and we're one bid league, so you don't get to me. I cracks this thing, It ain't like, hey, it's all right, we're getting in.
Right.
We're on the edge. I mean, so is Fairfield. We did the same thing in 2008. Siena beat us same way on a bases loaded, or hit a 2-run triple with 2 outs in the bottom of the 10th or something to win the game. And then we had to turn right around and play again. And all I said was, listen, we've done this before. I've seen it before. We can do it. Don't worry about it. Just clean it out. And just, it's happened. I've been there. I've seen it. And we bounced back, won the game 12-5 against Siena that same day. So that was probably the message. And even though my insides, even right now as I'm talking about it, it's like, ugh, I know what it feels like, but I try to present it that way. It's hey, mental toughness is when you're positive when things are most negative. And that instance, was an example of that. And of course, once the baseball game starts, just like football, once you get hit, once you get knocked down, you get back up and say, all right, game on. Where's this go? And we were fortunate enough. We had a little more pitching than they did, and we were fortunate enough to hit. But the score was 5-3 in the 5th inning. It wasn't like it wasn't like it was, blowout from the get-go. We kind of got away from them at the end. And the Coastal game was just, you're in the NCAA regional. Let's just keep playing hard. Just keep playing hard, And I wouldn't say we got lucky, but we didn't quit. So we just keep playing. I mean, Mike, you've been around the game, right? What I would have wished, I wish I wasn't coaching the game. I wish I was a spectator watching to see what people were, how it was people viewing it. Because it's for me, I tried to enjoy it, but it was tense. And then when Richie made the catch, it was like, whew, man, oh man.
Yeah.
And then the next night was even, for every great play we made, we just needed a little more luck. And, today you got to take it and leave it. Sometimes they give it to you, sometimes they don't. So, but great experience. You won't forget it. YouTube won't allow you to forget it. So that's good.
That's
thing.
right.
That's one
Love
thing.
that.
We were
It's our
all growing
job.
up. There was no such thing, and, I still, YouTube is like, if I get on YouTube, I got to get up because I'll ruin at least an hour of my day.
Oh, yeah.
Not watching Ryder. I'll be watching something about like the Green Bay Packers
30 years ago. Absolutely.
Or Paul Brown coaching Otto Graham or something. We're way off track here. You need to get me to quit talking. So.
Mike, when you see that game, when you see the Coastal game, we see so many Jersey guys coming up big in big spots, from Johnny Volpe with the big hits to Richie Sika laying out to make the last catch. The next night taking Duke down to literally the final pitch. All your experiences, seeing players all over the country. Give us the Mike Rooney definition of Jersey grit, Jersey culture, the Jersey baseball player that's a little bit different, but different in a good way.
Yeah. I mean, this is stereotyping because I don't want to paint every kid that ever grew up in New Jersey as loud, but compared to the rest of the country, it is a different, I think about people that change the room when they walk in there. And that's what I think about when I think about the Jersey teams and the Jersey players, like they're good. These are good athletes. They're cold weather kids. So maybe they're catching up on repetitions. And like Barry said, you really see who they are when they're juniors and seniors and they have caught up in repetitions. But there's just a different swagger, like there's a different confidence, there's a different toughness there. And it's not quite the arrogance either. It's a fun, it's swagger with a personality. I think we've all been around players and even coaches where there's a swagger there, but it's really almost unapproachable and it's arrogant. It's not even fun. No, it's pretty functional at times, but it's just not that fun. It's not that compelling. I think the Jersey kids that I've been around and witnessed, and like you mentioned, the Rider team, the Penn team was stock full of Jersey kids. NJIT a few years ago, it's just there's a I'll use NJIT. Like there's a reason why the Arkansas fans who have seen a ton of college baseball and they love college baseball, there's a reason why those fans took to the NJIT kids, right? And they're like, they're the prom kings of Fayetteville that weekend because they do it a little bit different. It's that personality. It's the there's a smile on their face. They're always chirping in a fun way, like in a clever, fun way, chirping at each other, right? Like not just chirping at their opponent. So I love it. It's unique. It's different. I think it's you can it's so funny. I did a podcast last night with Mitch Gaspard and he talked about their 97 Alabama team where they played the national title game. They lost to LSU, but he said what changed our team that year was Roberto Vaz, who was from Brooklyn. So it's Alabama, it's the SEC, it's all these Southern kids, country kids, and it's a kid from the Northeast with a big old personality. And just like they said, he regulated Jim Wells. Jim Wells, their coach, was really intense. And Roberto, because of his Brooklyn background, was the guy that could go to Coach Wells and say, Coach, man, you okay today? Like we got this, So anyway, when I think about it all, I think there's something different about the Jersey kids, and it's really fun. Sometimes in the sport, you get to these higher levels and you get yourself pretty wound up. You can get really focused on results and maybe on some of the wrong things. And I think some of these kids, I watched Ryder last year. I watched Penn. It reminds me of how fun this can be. And will any of those kids play in the big leagues? Probably not. But man, they'll have that experience for the rest of their lives. There's just no question about that. And I'll have that experience for the rest of my life. I'll never forget watching that team being no hit through 6 innings and coming back and nearly winning the regional. So it's so fun.
Guys, thank you so much for the time here. We're extremely excited for December 7th and 8th. Again, that's the Garden State Baseball Coaches Clinic, Hyatt Regency New Brunswick, Gamers BA.com. Got to get that right. To register. Mike Rooney, ESPN. Barry Davis, 1,000 Wins, head coach, Rider University, 2021 and 23 MAC champs. Thank you for stopping by, and as always, enjoyed it.
Thanks, Olsh.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing everybody out at Hyatt Regency, and I hope everyone has a great day.